There are a number of contributors we've got lined up for you today. First, we're going to start off with a little idea sharing moment from one of our European young leaders, Christina, who does amazing things on education and tech, followed by a set of discussions from, let's say, a tech upstart, or a startup, I should say. That's the wrong way of saying it. Arthur's never going to forgive me if he's heard that. We have a politician from Ireland, and then we also have a commissioner. So we've got a whole mix of contributors for you to season the debate, and hopefully all of you can engage in what must Europe do. Is it about smart policies for smart tech, or is it about saying, let's just have a generic approach? Do we spray gun the money, or do we hone it down in particular sectors and particular markets? So that's what's on offer for the conversation. But first of all, and also I want to welcome all our live stream people again. Thank you for joining us, and it's good that you're able to pipe yourselves into this conversation. So Christina, without a further ado, over to you.
I go.
Thank you.
So 10 years ago, I was in one of my first experiences in a classroom, and I was leading a workshop for high school students about new digital technologies and privacy. And something suddenly happened, because a 17-year-old girl stood up and very proudly announced, well, I don't care about privacy, because I have nothing to hide. And so I suddenly realized that I was framing the conversation all wrong, because we were not talking only about privacy, we were talking about how young generation perceive autonomy, agency, and even the value of their own data. And so I also understood that if we wanted to have a real conversation about technology, not only was there the need, of course, for deeper knowledge about STEM disciplines, but also we needed a systemic approach, one that is able to connect the present to the futures that we are building, one that is able to work side by side not only with the students, but with teachers and families. And so we began experimenting with future scenarios and future thinking, because, yeah, maybe we don't care now, but our future selves will. They will have to deal with those future, robots from the future, as someone called them, robots that are capable of much more than we can even imagine today with our data from the present. And a few years later, I found myself in another classroom. This time was with children aged from 7 to 12. And we were playing a game designed to imagine the future together. And I asked them, draw yourself in 20 years. And so this time it was an 8-year-old girl that showed me her drawing. And it looks like something like this. There should be a picture. And so I was curious. I asked her, what is it? And of course, she looked at me as I was asking the most obvious question in the world, and she answered, well, don't you see? Of course, I will be a surgeon. Don't you know that by 2050, all surgeons will be engineers? And I was shocked. I thought I was there to teach her something about new technologies and possible future scenarios, and I really didn't know where she picked it up. It made me realize even more how important it is the way we picture our present and our futures, and how much it is deeply, deeply connected to the narratives that we are immersed in. And, I'm very lucky, because throughout my life, I've been challenged many times to change my point of view from people who think differently. But ever since I started working in education, it almost happens every day. And the greatest challenge came exactly from the school system and the way I was approaching it. When I began this journey, it was 2015, and I wanted to empower young generations with the skills to navigate the future. And I thought I had the solution, of course. I was in my 30s, so I spent 2/3 of my life in classrooms, and another third creating an innovative startup that me and my co-founder ended up selling to a multinational competitor. So I thought, on one hand, that I knew how school worked, and on the other hand, that I knew how to innovate anything. And I also soon realized that I wasn't the only one thinking this way. Because, well, first of all, in this polycrisis world we are living in, it always comes down to fixing somehow education. It's like, if we fix education, everything will get right. And we all care deeply about education. We all have that first-hand experience that I had. And so at the end, we tend to believe that, yes, education needs fixing, that we know how to do it, and also that technology will somehow do the trick. Just as the narratives around technology and education have been telling us for years now. So education is just one of those things. It's like, in Italy, soccer. When there is the World Cup, we all suddenly become the best national team coach possible. We are opinionated, we have passion, and we are convinced that we know better than anyone else. Same thing with education, and I too fell into that trap, thinking I could fix everything by myself. But none of us can claim that alone. Just like the conversation around privacy, the conversation about technology and education needs a systemic approach. Because schools are not machines to be optimized. They are living organisms. They are complex, they are dynamic, they are deeply human. No single actor has all the answers, and true impact can happen only through a collective effort, through listening, through understanding the invisible threads that connect all the actors in the ecosystems. Students, teachers, families, but also policymakers, tech companies, publishers, foundations, and many, many more. Over the last 5 years, my nonprofit evolved into an edtech company supporting schools with teachers training, digital tools, and also content. And I'm still learning, but let me share a few thoughts I've gathered along the way in these last 5 years. So when talking about innovation in schools, we often say that the main problem is that the teachers lack the digital skills. And yes, of course, training is crucial, and there is much need for upskilling. But real transformation doesn't start with tools. It starts with listening, with a shared vision, listening to the teachers' struggles, their time constraints, their hopes for their students, their fears. And if we design without listening, we risk creating tools that burden rather than empower them. We need technology that is not an adaptation from what we use in the workplace. And a lot of time, this is the case. And true innovation for education must have deep roots in pedagogy, not in technology. Of course, technology and innovation are not the same thing. You can have, great innovation with no line of code, and you can have the greatest technology in the world, but still you can't innovate anything. So, and also sometimes we get obsessed with the cutting-edge features. But simplicity, in this case, always wins. So what we really need are safe, transparent, human-centered tools that nurture collaboration, agency, and metacognition. After all, we don't learn how to drive in a Ferrari. So likewise, we don't need the most powerful AI in the world to transform education. We just need the right one that is age-appropriate, culturally fit, inclusive, meaningful, and of course, ethical. So, you know, Professor Weizenbaum, the creator of the very first chatbot, Eliza, once wrote that general-purpose technology, such as AI, often are slower in their development, and that true innovation comes not from their original design, but from the ways in which people use them in unexpected and transformative ways. Think about the early days of the web. It was designed primarily as a tool to share files among researchers. And nobody expected that one of its most disruptive uses would be something as simple as sending each other emails. And yet, that unplanned application changed everything, forever transforming the way we communicate, we work, and live. And today we stand, I think, at the similar threshold, because we cannot foresee all the ways digital technologies and AI in particular will evolve and the way they will impact learning. But we can choose our narratives around it. When it comes to education, do we really need to accelerate everything and struggle to catch up? Do we need to use technology to make school more efficient? Or is it a narrative that we heard so many times that we now tend to believe it's inevitable? So we get trapped in narratives. For example, in AI, we are trapped in narratives that tend to overestimate its similarities with humans and underestimate its differences. And this distorted view risks to leading us astray, shaping what researchers studies, how policymakers act, what startups build, and even the choices that each of us makes every day. So that is why we need new narratives, and I strongly believe that they should emerge in the classroom, not in boardrooms of tech companies, maybe. So we should involve teachers, learners, work together, and make it so these technologies can have true value for all of us. And maybe if we listen carefully, we will get to know those future human thinkers and learners that will inhabit those futures that we are building today. Thank you.